So, um, do one of you want to share and show me what you're seeing, or show is Ethan if he's is Ethan on yet? No, I don't see Ethan. Um, so I come into here. Mattermost or in Discord. I think Discord is still pushing everything out. But you know, if one of you wants to share your screen, let's take a look at it and see what you're seeing, and maybe Ethan can help us out here. Although I've not seen him in the room yet. We're having people not be able to see the like the React the Get Made Easy or the React JS, those meetings where there were videos uploaded. Like I click into here and I see the video. Okay, Alexandra, go ahead. Let's see what you got. As Rick and Morty would say, show us what you got.
Can you hear me?
Only when you talk.
Okay. This is what it looks like for me. I can't see any of I can only see the lectures, but I'm not able to see any of the work.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you too.
Can you hover over student sections? Yeah, okay. So for anyone who is not in the section or never joined it, they're not going to see them. There is a join link that I can put in chat right now. And I believe it is publicly joinable, yes. If you want to copy that entire string, for whatever reason, it only lets me go to one of those, but.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, now you should be able to see those. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that was easy enough. Okay.
Yeah, for anyone,
now I can see them.
for anyone who doesn't have that, please go to that link. Yeah, in the
James,
WebEx
for
chat.
example, I think you were one of the ones on there. I knew this had to be doable, so I wasn't sure exactly what you guys were seeing. So I'm glad that we had that we were able to get through this. Of course, now I lost my place.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Let's see, we're sitting at 94. We normally wait for 100, right, Frank?
Right around that.
Right around that. The problem is the 6 people we need to get to join, we can't reach out to because they're not on.
Yeah.
See, that's a catch-22. If we could just reach out to those 6 people, we'd be good. 4 or 5 people, we'd be good. But we can't.
Nope, they're happening now.
Maybe they were listening to us.
Yeah. Maybe it does work. The power of thought.
Exactly. Power of positive thinking.
I need a lot of that this semester.
That's why I've been using my beach background.
That makes sense.
Two more. We should take a poll. At what time will we click over? We don't have to wait any longer. I think 98 is close enough for the last week. I guess I should probably bring up the slides. 99. All right. I'm recording, so I think anytime you're ready, Frank, I am ready to get this done because I'm worried we have a 5 and a 4 today, so we'll have a lot of presentations.
Yes. Okay. In that case, I'm ready too.
And I am not actually showing that, am I?
No.
I'm showing me. All right, there we go.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to our, I guess, penultimate meeting.
I love that word,
Wow.
by the way. That's one of my favorite words.
Definitely. It's kind of scary it's come so fast, but we've done some great stuff this semester. We're continuing presentations today, and I think we have a small handful for the last day. Next slide. So before we get to those presentations, nothing too new to go through. Just a list of upcoming workshops. There's one more from before. So let's get straight into that. Next slide. Keep an eye out for these 3 workshops going on tomorrow. We have the Deep Dive into Telescope, JSON Web Tokens, and now deploying with Heroku. So if you are at a point with your project where you've gotten it off the ground a bit, or you're ready to at least, and you aren't familiar with how to deploy web apps and really any other sort of apps, definitely check out that workshop. I don't think we have a time for it yet. If num4 is in the chat, just let us know, but we'll update that and we'll ask him to post about it tomorrow. So definitely check out as many of these as you can. Next slide. And due for this week, we'll have attendance as usual. And yeah, I guess no more status update. I'll quick switch that. In the slides posted, they'll be gone. Course evaluations, we still don't have too many. So please submit your course evaluations for RCOS. If we get above 55% participation in course evaluations, very reachable, then we're going to drop one more status update from everyone. So one less status update will affect your grade. I think that's definitely worth it. And just to note, for some reason, RCOS is showing up as programming in C on that official page. So don't be confused. Go ahead and fill that out. And Brooklyn in the chat asked, what do we have so far, Professor? Do you know the percentage or number submissions?
We're about halfway there.
Great. Then we could definitely get 55%.
Yeah.
So definitely check your email for that link. And at least fill out RCOS. He'd probably fill out the other ones, but RCOS is most important, of course. Next slide. I believe that's all for me.
Okay, I sent this a couple of times. I don't necessarily need to go over this again, but just in case you're wondering, a significant percentage of you are going to come to me for recommendations. I mean, not like 80%, but a number of you will come to me for recommendations. I often have to go back and try to do write-ups on different projects. If you guys can keep this up to date until we get a new database, that allows me to go back and refresh my memory on what you worked on and what you did and everything else, and it makes my life much easier and enjoyable. So please, keep this stuff up to date. It really does help us when places like Red Hat ask us for what you're doing, or IBM wants to get involved. So put your project out there if it's not out there. If you're not in there, put yourself in our join RCOS as a developer. And if you are there and you didn't reactivate yourself so we can kind of track you for the semester. Final commit summary is now available at this link. This is on the slides. Let's grab this as. Oops, I can't grab that. We'll paste that. If one of you, Frank, could you paste this into the chat again? So the final commit summary is at this link. It's the same as the midterm review. Please fill it out. So it's the open source contributions are worth 50% of your grade. This is worth 10% of that. So this will be 5% of your grade just submitting this, right? So you need to get this in to get that. But it also is how we're going to go and find your contributions. So we need to be able to see it, and we need to be able to follow your hard links to all the contributions you want us to review. So in other words, we want to be able to just copy paste or click on something and get to your contributions, so we can, give you credit for everything you did, and use the mid-year review as guidance, or talk to your mentor. The final commit summary is available. It's at this hard link. Please submit it. Submitting itself is going to count part of your grade, but we're also going to use it to count your grades. And if you're wondering, yes, I have it on a third slide. This is important. This is probably the most important thing you can do this week. And so why did I repeat this? You need to do this. One, it's going to count part of your grade. More than that, this is how we're going to find out what you did this semester, or what you're claiming, what goes underneath your name. And it doesn't have to be all GitHub links. We'll take any links to openly available stuff, right? It can't be to your personal Google Drive or something like that. We want open contributions to wikis, issue trackers, things that are publicly available. But give us all of those. Give us hard links that we can click on. This big long string, if you look, there's a couple parts to this. This first part here is just a git command to look for an author and a date range. And if you have some of your development done in branches other than master, you can throw in the branches flag. You can even throw in the branches flag for master. This will grab the hash for all of your commits. If you pipe this in this little pipe, right, if you're familiar with Linux, this pipes the output of this command into this command. And this just looks for the word commit, and it turns it into a string that actually has, right? If you replace GitHub username or organization with your username, or, RCOS if you're under RCOS, whatever repository you're under, and then, or whatever organization you're under, and then your repo name, what this will do is give us a list. It'll give you actually a list of commits in this repository, right? You go into your repository on your local machine, run this command, it will give you a list. This is developed thanks to Nia. If you do it, for example, if I did this, for example, on the open source course, and we'll be teaching the open source course next semester, we would get something that looks like this. Get remote-v just tells you where your remotes are. So I'm sitting in my repository right now. Get remote-v gives me this nice long string. This is Nia's command. This is my login. This is the date range, or the starting date we want to look at. This is the branch you want to look at. RCOS, right? This thing here pops down into here. If that's your name goes there. If it's RCOS, RCOS goes there. If, whatever organization you want it to be pops into there. This piece, minus the git, pops down into here. Those are the fields that you have to replace. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. It's all really simple. When you do that, you'll get a list of all of your commits. These are hard links. If I open this link, it will actually take me right? It'll actually take me, this is the open source course, to that actual commit. It'll do the same thing if you run this. You put all those links in there, we can use it, we can see what you did, we can see how much you did, we can see how many commits you did. Okay, so please, this is very easy for you guys to do, and I should have clicked to add title, but I didn't. So this will at least give you everything you put into a GitHub repository. Other links are fine as well. We love to get other links, but this at least gets you into the GitHub repository stuff. Gets you a complete list. Makes it very easy for us to follow. All right, that's all we wanted to talk. All I wanted to talk about today. I don't know if anybody added any slides after this. We're going to move right into our presentations. We've thrown this up a couple of times. I'm going to throw it up again. This is the presentation rubric. If you're helping us fill out the rubric, if you're helping us rank or evaluate presentations, this is how you do it. Rubric goes from excellent to needs work or not addressed on a 1. If there are any issues, if you don't have a scheduled slot, if you don't know what's going on, if this takes you completely by surprise, please contact us. Otherwise, plan on 10 minutes with a short Q&A. Today we have 10, or actually we have 9. We'll do 4 in Professor Kuzmin's room, Cheetor, Dorm Design, Sage, and RPI Campus Map. That will be in Professor Kuzmin's WebEx. In my room, we'll do Rensselaer E-Trade Dashboard, Exalander, OpenCircuits, TutorBase, and the Insomnia Dialogue System. So these are the 2 links. You're currently sitting in this one. So if you're here, you don't have to worry about it. If you're not, please go to Professor Kuzmin's. He's just posted his link in the chat as well. Here's a link to the form. Right? You're still welcome to work on your own presentations, particularly if you have one coming up on Friday, or to get your own, final summary up. But if you want, these are really nice things to listen to. We've got some really great presentations, and that brings us finally to attendance. We have our venue attendance. It's right here. We have our submittee attendance. I thought today I would talk up the presentations, so the submittee attendance is 9 great presentations. And I know I'm putting the cart before the horse, and that I'm assuming they're going to be 9 great presentations, but I think history is on my side more often than not. So those will get you attendance for today. I will be running rainbow grades sometime before Friday. Professor Kuzmin and I will get all that straightened out so you can kind of see where you are. But really, right now, the main thing you can work on is getting your presentations up and into play. All right. Any questions before we kick anybody out who doesn't want to do a presentation in my room and get you to join Professor Kuzmin's, or go off and work and respond? Again, if you are here, please go in and do the evaluations. We actually get, I want to say graded, but it's not really graded. We do get marked, or we get, that goes against our, if we don't get a lot of, it's important for us to get a lot of people doing evaluations. So, please make sure you do those. It helps us out. Just the magnitude of how many people we get to respond helps us out. And then if you can say nice things about us, that's even better. We can't force you to say nice things. We can't measure if you do nice things. We can measure if nobody does it. We can measure % participation, and that's about all we get. Can you list as a submittee box review? We could, except then we would see who did it, and we can't. We don't want to out anybody on that. We want you guys to remain appropriately anonymous, whether you fill it out or not. But we are going to ask that you fill it out, because that really helps us out. All right. Anything else? If not, we are 5 minutes later than I was hoping to be, but we will make that up in volume. So we're ready to kind of go. I think Professor Kuzmin, have you left yet? Professor Kuzmin may have left the building. So if you want to see one of those presentations, please go over into his room. Otherwise, stick around here. We'll give you a few more minutes, a few more seconds, and then we'll get started on our presentations. Thank you all. If you're watching this in Venue after the fact, I'm going to mark it at 13 minutes. So if you go through up to 13 minutes, you will be good. All right. You would think that I would memorize this, but I haven't. So let's see who we have. We're going to start off with Rensselaer eTrade Dashboard, then Alexandra, and then OpenCircuits, TutorBase, and Insomnia Dialogue System. Do we have somebody from Rensselaer eTrade Dashboard ready to get started?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can, but only when you talk.
Okay. Should we share our screen or?
That's the question. Do you want us to show your screen, or do you want to? You want me to present? Either way works.
I can share it.
Okay. So let me do that. Get a nice purple screen, and then I'll stop my video.
Okay.
And
Can you see it?
there we go. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
At about 10 minutes, I'll put a little note in the chat. But other than that, we are good.
Okay. I'll start. Hi everyone. My name is Joanne, and I'm the project lead for Rensselaer eTrade Dashboard, or in short, RED. And aside from being the project lead, I'm also responsible for all the backend design and implementations.
Hello, I'm Asura. I mainly focus on the front-end development and some of the documentation in Wiki.
Okay, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so what is the Rensselaer eTrade Dashboard? Essentially, it's just a web application that allows students and staff at RPI to trade their stuffs. And the stuff can be anything from your school textbooks to your apartment couch, anything legal, so to speak. So this idea came up because every so often I would see people posting on Facebook, Reddit, Discord, just to sell something. And I felt like because the targeted audience is always scattered all over the place, so people tend to make the same post on different platforms over and over again. And it's quite a hassle. So the idea is to create this website so that we can provide a centralized place for all the RPI community to trade their stuffs. And it's basically just like the RPI for sale Facebook group, but then in the form of a website. And of course, with more potential features in the future. And I'll pass on to Cyril to talk about the our project presentation.
Okay, so for our project management, we hosted all of our codes based on a blast repository in GitHub, and then we work on different branches. We use the issues tab on GitHub to keep track of bugs and enhancements. We have several wiki documents illustrated user scenario, our project purpose, and project milestone for this semester. And as for the code structure, we use one npm package for front end and one for the back end. That's basically our project management.
Okay, next slide. Oops. Okay, so in terms of the tech stack we're using, for the front end, we are using React along with Babel and Webpack as the build tool. And the entire front end is written in TypeScript. And then the back end is a simple Express server connecting to a Postgres database. And essentially the front end talks to the back end via RESTful API. And this is a really commonly used framework in the industry, and it's pretty straightforward. We didn't want to make things too complicated because this is only the first semester that we started. And so far, it's just been the two of us working on it. So yeah. And this is the initial wireframe we have. We came up back in September. So as you can see, the button we have here kind of resembles Postmark, but we have been slowly making changes so that the website looks kind of different right now. But yeah, I guess this is our vision in the beginning, I guess. And current progress. So my contribution this semester include setting up the platform infrastructure that is both the front end and the back end. implementing the major backend features. So that includes creating a new item on the website and then inserting it to the database, and searching for items using specific keyword. And I've also integrated the front end with backend with the, using API calls. And yeah.
And in this semester, I work mainly on several basic functionalities for users within the front end. We finished a search tool on the navbar which can help users find the items they want, and we implemented a filter bar component to sort the display order of items. We also added components for data rendering. The projects will be displayed as a list of items. And in addition to implementing the front-end UI components, I helped to make the wiki page and documented various requirements and instructions. Can we go to the next page, Jiawen?
Okay.
Thanks. And this is what we have so far. As a seller, you will come to our website and click the red sell button here below the navbar, and then you can fill out the form in this model. You can input your product name, product type, and its price and basic description. When you finish, you could click the submit button and the object will go to our Postgres database, or you can click the return button to roll back and cancel the action. Can we go to the next page?
Okay.
Thanks. And as a buyer, you can visit our homepage, use the search tool here to look for the keywords that you are looking for. Click on the search button. This will pop up a list of items for your keyword, and you can use the filter tool, which is between the navbar and the sale button, to reorder the rendering items based on price, category, and time span. This is the general features we have so far.
Yeah, and just to add on what Sura said, this is just like the rough draft we have so far. It's not going to be how it's going to look in the final product, but it's good for the current testing and all the stuff we have right now. And yeah. All right, so next steps. So as for the future plan, I guess next semester we'll still work on this project, and we'll try to focus mainly on improving our searching algorithm, because current one is just like a single line of plain query. And then one other key thing is that to implement the upload image functionality, we didn't like get to work on this because the final week is approaching. And but it's really important because you know, you can't really sell something without actually showcasing it to people. And then maybe we will create a homepage in the UI that gathers and displays all of the recent items. So that falls under the UI enhancement section. And yeah, in the future, probably future semesters, we are looking into user authentication, profile system, and then the DM system, and possibly the bidding system, so that you can bid for the price in the DM chat. That'll be really cool. And at last, we need to get some people to actually try this out. So getting users on campus is also one major thing that we have to do. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
All right. Anybody have any questions? Okay. So, let's see, I'm not seeing the chat. Okay. So I have a question. I had two.
Yeah.
Let me think of the. All right, so I'm just going to throw out one. You guys were talking about doing it next semester as well. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
So have you given any thought to you know, what it might whether you want to expand this your group, or what it might take to expand your group, or anything about building a community?
Yeah. We'll recruit more people in next semester for sure.
Yes.
And how do you have you made any plans for how to kind of pull them in, or are you just kind of premature for right now?
Not quite sure. We're probably gonna be like during the pitch in the beginning of the semester. That will work.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to ask you, you said you were working on a wiki. What are you
Yeah.
doing on the wiki? What kind of things are you throwing up there?
I can show it for really quick. It's not so far. What we have.
some
It's basically like 3 pages with the homepage as our like main README, and then our milestones that tracks like our current progress from like week 1 to like week 9, and then overview. I guess this name should be changed. That like kind of like rephrase the our proposal. Yeah, but we'll add in more stuff like afterwards to make this more comprehensive.
Nice.
Yep.
Right.
Thanks.
Very cool. Any other questions for Rensselaer E-Trade dashboard?
Yeah, it's a really bad name.
I don't know. It does shorten to red very nicely. So
yeah, that's why I chose it in the first place. But you know, it's just kind of awkward when you say the whole name.
yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
You are welcome. Thank you.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
Awesome. The next one we have will be Alexandra. Do we have somebody from Alexandra here?
Yes. Can everyone hear me first?
I can.
Okay, so all right, and then I'll share screen. My computer's gonna take a little while. Sorry.
No problem. We're in good shape.
Okay.
Well, we're not in horrible shape. In previous semesters, we've tried to do like 8 of these a day, and that is tough.
Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Can anyone see the screen, or is that like okay?
Are you
Not yet.
sharing? I can't see it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either.
That's great.
I can hear you typing now. There we go. It's coming.
That wasn't me typing though. Oh really?
I can hear somebody typing. How's that?
There's nothing. Okay, I think I'm sharing the whiteboard. That's not what I meant to do. I can do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see the presentation. The picture.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I can do this one. I didn't say how time to probably break down.
We're getting a little bit of. I'm going to mute everybody. Can you guys
Oh.
mute yourselves in a second? I'm going to mute everybody, but you guys should unmute yourself because we're getting a little bit of feedback. All right.
Can you hear me fine?
Headphones are like.
I can hear you fine. I think Sneha's.
Yeah, Sneha, your thing's a bit like staticky.
Staticky.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't really fix anything about that though. My headphones are kind of just bad.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay. We do what we can. Let's go on. And I was hoping that if I muted everybody, then it would stop interfering with you, but it doesn't sound like it. I'm going to mute myself though, so that maybe I'm the culprit.
No, that's usually my headphones. They're not very good. I don't have a better option though. Sorry. Shall I continue though? Don't know.
Yeah, I was muted, so you'll have. So yeah, go ahead.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna go. Okay, so I'm Karen again with the bad headphones, and so yeah, probably for a calendar. And a calendar is basically a website for all your academic, like all your academic deadlines, like homework, quizzes, exams for all of your classes, and it should work for both students and professors. And it's mostly programmed in JavaScript, HTML, CSS and MySQL. I believe all team members are walking later on, so there will be that for you guys to look forward to. And yeah, so we also plan for professors to be able to upload and edit schedules, assignments, and so on. And it should also be able to be incorporated into your personal calendar as well. So instead of you having to go to 100 different pages or PDFs of Solidify, you can just open one website and that's where all your deadlines and everything on. And so probably use Discord to communicate, and we had everybody in teams of 2 to work on different parts of the project. And if anybody had any issues, some of the team members would sit around. So it was easy for everyone to collaborate together, and everyone got a chance to work on different parts of the project, which is nice. And since we use Discord, we also set up different channels as well, one specifically for links, one for any important updates, another one for just talking. And we also utilize the wiki, so any future members can just look at our contributor resources page, and they'll find a whole bunch of resources that we found useful and mostly used. So it's easy for anyone coming next semester. And lastly, so what we got done this semester, I think it's important to mention that this is my first time doing RCOS. So it's also my first time being a project lead. So, and this is also a brand new project. So we got the login and sign up set up. We implemented the main calendar, the calendar design, and the calendar actually works. So it comes with an actual calendar. You can say whatever you want, put notes if you want for the calendar. And we also set up a user specific page, so you can change your password, log in, all that. That's the setting page. And then we also had to use a server because we just someplace to store all of the information. So I think we used someone's Raspberry Pi for that. And we also set up the wiki as well. And yeah, so plan for the future, because I do plan on doing the calendar again next semester, is since this semester was mostly focused on the general working on things, didn't get the chance to work on methods to specifically upload information on dates and all of that. And we do right now the calendar only works for a monthly thing. You can see once of September, October, you can only see for a month. So in the future we want to make it so you can see it on a weekly basis as well. And I think there was a suggestion that we could use our API as logic system, so this would be really cool. Then we don't have to do any verification both, which would be nice. And lastly, we have plans to use an API to scale the classes our API has, if we can get a chance to do that this semester. Alright, so I think next would be team contribution. So first one up would be me. That'd be me, Harmon. So I was new to JavaScript and HTML, so I learned all of that. And I worked mostly on the front end of different pages. So I worked on the sign-up page since we could use the template as to remove a bunch of extra stuff. And also added on, things to personalize the calendar. And also worked on the calendar page where we had issues where you couldn't see the calendar at all, no matter what you did, because the dimensions and everything were a little bit messed up. So I fixed that, and now you can actually see the calendar. You can scroll around to see different parts of the calendar. And also, before I came in, you would not be able to see the notes bar. So you can see that now. And I also worked on the settings page where we had sidebar, which had all of the menus and all. I'll be direct to the different pages that I calendar has. So I worked on the sidebar, and then also adjusted the theme design so that all of the different pages have the same color scheme of different shades of red and white. Especially our 5-page colors. So next one would be Kira. Is Kira here?
Yeah.
Anybody having looked at her?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Sorry. This semester I was doing the calendar and the main calendar page. I started out with planning what I wanted to do in the future with it, as well as what could be done in this semester. I started off by learning JavaScript, HTML, basically from scratch. I worked on the front end of the main calendar page for most of the semester. The primary focus was basically just getting the rough layout done. If the colors don't look pretty, that wasn't really the biggest of priorities. Currently, it tracks the current month and date and will automatically switch when the month is over to the next month. So it tracks the current date, and we had an issue earlier where it wouldn't properly display the month dates at all. It would switch around, so I had to fix that. Currently, the monthly calendar is working. The plans for the future are to get the weekly and daily calendars done. The basic layout is complete, and as you can see, there's a few placeholders here for for the menus and the events bar. As previously mentioned, there are a few layout issues, mostly with the fact that it was created solely for either 1080 screens or 4K screens. Doesn't really fit otherwise. So those adjustments will be made.
Hi. So I worked on the MySQL database as well as with the object relational mapping. Originally, it was just MySQL and JavaScript, but I had a code review with Frank M, and he recommended that we use SQLize, and that turned out to be really helpful. So I worked on the database connection, mainly using, Frank's in the chat, mainly using env files so that people's credentials didn't get put into the GitHub. Made a database model. I used bcrypt for password hashing and verification, which is something I had done a little bit before, but I learned more about. I created just basic user settings setup, which I believe Joseph worked on the user settings page, and then just user and class creation through SQLize through the model. That is all.
Okay, so
Hi, I'm Alex. I worked on mostly front end and the organization of the project. And with that, I created the wiki. And throughout the entire semester, I used the wiki to showcase what we had done and what was still on our to-do list. And with the wiki, I also kept track of the resources that my team members used and put that into the wiki for future members to look back and if they wanted to contribute or read about what we did. That's all in the wiki for the project. I also worked on, for the front end, I worked on the login page, which you can see down there, and it just looks like a little weekly calendar. And for that, I used HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And with the login page, you can put in your email password, you can remember your password, or if you forgot your password, you're able to change it, or you can create a new account. And then at the bottom is our GitHub. It's linked to the login page in case somebody just wanted to quickly go on and see what our GitHub looked like. And there's also a toggle bar at the top for where it says Excalendar. You can toggle around and it'll change the current words to say an outsourced project, an open source project, an RCOS project, and stuff like that. And that's what I worked on this semester.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I worked on the user options page for Exalander. I did all of the front end of it. I initially wanted to do back end, but I found that with the front end, I could just do quick change and see if it works or not, which is pretty nice. As you can see, the settings page is extremely rough. It shows pretty much the bare minimum for user functionality. Right now, all the user can do with Exalander is log in, log out, and change their passwords. We're planning on the future for users to be able to add events and change the dates and delete them. But that's something we can do in the future. One thing I found in my research on like how to design the settings page is that most like of the popular sites like Twitter and Facebook and Reddit, they kind of have like a two bar design where like one column has like a description of what the option does, and like the second one actually has the forms and the buttons and stuff. And I tried to emulate a little bit, but I'm not very good at design. And also I fixed a little bit of the sidebars. I added links so that users can be able to click from the homepage to settings to log in and back. And that's about what I've done for the semester.
So I did a lot of back-end stuff, almost exclusively back-end stuff. So the big thing, one of the things it is, I actually hosted the server. So I created the database server from home, and I used a personal Raspberry Pi 4 to host it, and had other people access that. Then I also just worked on the general backend, so I created a lot of the logic for the index page, and as well as the logic for the login and sign up pages as well. And then the rest of my time was spent on I try to make it more portable, the database setup, because it's on my own personal Raspberry Pi, and I wanted to be able to make it more portable so that we don't have to so that other people can set it up on their own computers or on another server. So in case I don't do this project again, that it doesn't become reliant on my technology.
Okay, so I think that's about it. So what else to present? So any questions, issues, concerns, other than my bad headphones?
Any questions? So I guess the question that I'd like to ask is, I think early on in your presentation you said that you divided up into teams of 2. How did you find that work?
Yeah.
An effective strategy? Did it, what benefits did you get from it, and were there any drawbacks?
I think it worked out okay. So the reason I decided on that, I thought it'd be good if you could lead the 2, so that if we was working alone, you had somebody else to reach out to who could help. It didn't help, because then if one person was working on more back end things like functionality, and the other person could just work on front end and make sure that functionality actually worked on screen as well, if you could see that it's working and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And since because also we did it with 2 people working on it, you also had someone to reach out to. I didn't want anybody to feel okay, it's only me alone. There's no one to ask for help.
Yeah,
so that's why I figured.
Cool. So if you were to expand your project, would you continue that? Would you try to pair up a new person, and would you try to pair them up with another new person, or would you try to pair them up with an experienced person?
I would prefer to start with an experienced person, unless the thing was something simple, or unless both of them were had enough experience to be able to handle things and those. Otherwise, I would prefer to pair up a new person, experienced person.
Okay. Any other questions? There's one up there from Neha, by the way. Go ahead. You can, if somebody else was jumping in, go ahead. But then there's also the question if you have any plans to integrate with Google Calendar. So.
Well, I was actually going to jump in on the previous question. It's just I just noticed how working in the group. This is especially a problem working remotely. It was very easy to fall into a trap, or you'd expect one person to do the coding and the other person to just contribute ideas. Especially since if you don't really have anything similar to Google Drive, where 2 people can type at the same time. And in addition, with when you have to synchronize your work through GitHub, well, mostly for me because this is actually my first semester using it, but it seemed like a pain trying to get your work to match up with another person's work.
Okay, I mean that's a reasonable criticism of it. I was just there was no right answer, by the way. It just was interested in your opinions. Do you guys want to answer the Google Calendar one from Neha?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay. I guess.
Wait, she said plans to. We do have plans to.
Yeah, she was asking if you had any plans
So-
to integrate with Google Calendar.
Yes, that is plan for the semester.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I've got all. I think that was very nice. I think our next victim is OpenCircuits. So that's probably Leon, I think, or at least
Yes.
his
Yes.
group.
Hello.
Hi. Are you guys? Never mind. I can see it coming up now.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay, you can see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Wait, let me move this stuff. Okay. Can you still see it when it's in full screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay, cool. I will start then. Hello. So I'm Leon Montiel-Legre, and this is OpenCircuits. Everyone will introduce themselves when they talk about their own work, I think. Yeah, so for people who do not know, OpenCircuits is an online digital circuit designer. And digital circuits are the things you learn in comp org with like AND gates, OR gates, that kind of thing. And these are some general features. You can create complex or simple circuits, whatever you want. You can create integrated circuits and pack everything in a box for easy use. You can save and load your circuits to the cloud, and it's totally free. And yeah, some background on it. I started this 4 years ago now, when I was in high school as an independent study at a community college. And some people for the class I was taking are actually using OpenCircuits now, which is really cool. And actually, we talked to Kuzmin for the professor meetup thing, and I'm probably going to work with him to get it working, get OpenCircuits in comp org, so that people are actually using it there too, which will be super cool. So our technology, we have quite a large stack. We use TypeScript for mostly everything, but we use Golang for the backend. We use HTML and CSS, of course, because it's a web app. We use Webpack for all of our building management. We also use Docker, and we use SQLite for our database, and we use Google Cloud Platform to host the actual website. So our project structure, we're on GitHub. We have the BSD3 license, and the general workflow is someone picks an issue, they make a branch for their issue, they work on their issue, and then they submit a pull request, and then I review the pull request, they make edits, and we go back and forth. We have some automation along with that too. We use Travis CI for running our tests, but I think I've heard something recently about Travis potentially shutting down or something or becoming paid, so I might switch to GitHub Actions in the future. We also use Docker Hub Cloud Building to build the whole application, just to make sure it also runs in there. We have a fairly simple installation process and a decently well-documented installation instructions. And I'll talk a little bit more about the documentation because I tried to work on that a lot this semester. But yeah, so now we're going to go into individual progress. So the first person is Trevor. So if you're here, please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Hi there, my name's Trevor Crystal, and this is my first semester working on OpenCircuits. So I figured since I'm new to the project, I'll just take on first a few small things just to get familiar with the project. So I fixed a bug where when duplicating a button that was pressed, the button would remain pressed even when your mouse was unclicked and moved away from it. And the buggy behavior is shown in that top right picture there. And I also made a small change to the back end to add an option to auto-configure the port settings for the server. And once I was familiar with the basics of the presentation, I thought of what I wanted to do as a larger feature, and that was to create a Boolean expression to circuit generator, so you could enter a Boolean expression and it would generate a circuit that is representative of that expression. And the first step of this was working with Leon to create a design doc. And once that was done, I created a bunch of tests and created the actual central algorithm to convert the expression. And I have pretty much finished with that algorithm aside from one edge case that's still getting a bug, but the next big step is really to create the whole UI, and the UI that is shown in the bottom right there is just a mock-up. Currently, it's just the generate button and the text field, but there's still some refactoring to do, and I plan on continuing to work on this feature next semester to get it to where I want it to be.
Awesome, cool. Next is Michael.
Yep. Hello. I'm Michael Lenyszyn. I also started working on OpenCircuits this semester, so I figured I'd try to shorten the issue list a bit. So the first issue I handled was I added an option for like choosing the color of labels and the color of the label text, which you can see in the left-hand image. And then I also added a keyboard shortcut for saving circuits. And if you're logged in, that'll also like save it to your account. And what I'm currently working on is so if someone tries to go to the OpenCircuits website and they don't have like a compatible browser, like showing them a warning message, that is pretty much done. I just have to work on a couple visual quirks on the warning message, and that's about it.
Awesome, cool. Next is Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin. This is also my first semester with OpenCircuits and with RCOS. And I started off by shortening the issue list a little bit as well. I fixed a bug where when you have a straight wire and you perform certain actions, like if you rotate the straight wire or you undo whatever action that straightened the wire wouldn't unstraighten when it should. So for example, like in the first picture, if you have like the inverter and you were to like rotate it 90 degrees, the wire should unstraighten because the two ports aren't in a straight line anymore. So that was the first issue I worked on. And then I moved on to implementing midpoint snap and edge snapping of components. So like if you see in the bottom left, the two D flip-flops, I think, are edge snapped, like the top edge of the first one and the bottom edge of the other are snapped together when you move them. So helps organize the circuit a little. And then in the middle, the two inverters, again, without the wire, are snapped together by their midpoints. And I'm in the process of writing some test cases for both midpoint and edge snap just to make sure they work and, you know, all the corner cases are covered.
Awesome. Cool. Then Henry.
Hi, this is my first semester at RCOS and OpenCircuit. So basically, to start out, I worked on a bug involving labels and IC circuits in order to like get myself familiar with the code. So basically, what the bug involves is that label was considered as a component, which messed up like the algorithm for considering if it's a valid IC. I then worked on a bigger feature with replacing components. To start this feature out, I created a design doc, which was very helpful because it created an outline for what I have to do. So far for the replace feature, I have added the button, and I also created the algorithm for like finding the compatible components. And what I have to continue doing is creating the menu for the replace features. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Cool. And then Tosh.
Hi. So I'm Natasha, and this semester I worked on creating a history feature. So essentially what will happen is if you go into the side nav, there is a little clock button there that when you click on it, it'll show all the actions that you've done so far to create your circuit. And when you just start your circuit and you haven't done anything, it shows a little message, there's no history yet, there's no history yet. So what's left to do is that I need to make a lot of small get methods so that way we can actually have it print a unique name for each unique action. So if you added a switch, it'll say that instead of just saying action 1, action 2, action 3. And in the future, it would be great, but we're going to have to try and work towards having a play history function where you can just play and it'll create the circuit one at a time, each action that you've taken. And that's like the biggest thing. And then we also want it to be able to, so that way when you click on it, it'll go to that time in history in which you have created the circuit.
Awesome. And then finally, Brandon.
I am Brandon, and this semester I worked on a 3-input binary coded decimal display, which takes in 3 inputs as a binary number and then converts it to decimal. And then you can see it displayed on the display right here. And in the future, I want to work on getting more inputs, like 4 inputs, 5 inputs, which I would have to implement double digit decimal numbers and more.
Awesome, cool. And we are live at OpenCircuits.io if you want to play around with it ever. And we have some plans for the future, like more components. There's some long-reaching features like microcontrollers, so you could actually write some code and control some output ports. Organizational tools, ability to share circuits with others and have a public library of circuits. That's a big one for next semester, potentially. More tutorials and documentation is huge. And a lot more bug fixes and such. One thing I want to very quickly talk about is stuff that I did this semester. And so I've been working on a lot of the documentation kind of stuff because I've realized, especially like yesterday, I was helping Brandon with something, and there's like, if you want to create a new component for OpenCircuits, they're like, you have to ask me. Like, there's no documentation on how to create a component. It's a very specific procedure, and it's definitely something that should be documented. I never really thought about it, and I need to do a lot of stuff like that. Things like style guides, a database layout. Another big thing I was working on was a new build system using Webpack, because I've always gone just based off of very simple tutorials. But I learned about the Webpack dev server, which makes it so that you can literally just save your code and the browser instantly refreshes it with your changes. So that's been something I've been working on too. But yeah, that's it. Anyone have any questions or anything? I don't have WebEx open, probably.
So, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, which means that you got to handle mine. So
yeah.
So this is actually for anybody but Leon and maybe not Tosh either, because she's been on with the project a couple of semesters. I noticed there were a lot of new people on this project, and one of the things I would like to get from you guys is what were the good things and the bad things about trying to get started on OpenCircuits? I mean, Leon just pointed out a really good one, that he didn't realize how complicated it was to add a new component, which is a remarkable realization, right? I mean, that's something that you want people to realize. It's great to pull it out. It's great to have a plan for it. Did you guys see anything else that should be concentrated on?
I guess just sort of going with the documentation, I noticed when I was fixing the duplicate button bug, I spent a lot of time just basically going through the call stack for what happens when items are copied. And there was just a lot of like layers of understanding, like, okay, this happens because it is for everything to happen, it is a pretty big project. So just kind of going straight in, it's a lot to dig through at first.
Yeah. A big part of that is because I've realized this too, is there's a lot of layers of abstraction that are nice because it means I can reuse a bunch of the code for things like the electrical engineering version of OpenCircuits. But it also makes it a lot harder to figure out where things are happening or what things are specifically happening where, because this extends that and that extends this, and it can be definitely very confusing. That's something I still need to figure out exactly how I want to handle that, and that's definitely a big part of being a project manager. That's very difficult, figuring out exactly how the best approach to making something readable but also efficient and also reusable and all that stuff.
So when I tell you guys that this documentation stuff is a useful activity and is meaningful, am I feeding you a line or not?
I mean, I can answer that, but I think someone else should probably.
No, I just want to point out that this is one of the things that we really try to stress with you guys. That
Yeah.
it's just not all about the code.
Absolutely. If I were to start over from scratch, I would definitely want to keep documentation more in mind because I didn't have it in mind at all when I first started this project. And that's, yeah. So, and someone asked, someone had a question. Would you say you designed OpenCircuits with novices or very experienced engineers in mind? I designed OpenCircuits for educational purposes, I'd say, for the most part. So for students in some sort of digital electronic class, that's what it was originally for. I think that is where we're mostly tailored to. We want to make it specifically for education, but I also want it to be usable for very experienced engineers, hopefully at some point, being able to do that crazy analysis with being able to do all that stuff. And that's where the electrical engineering version is probably in the direction of, but yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm going to cut this. We can come back and ask the team more questions. Good question, by the way, Joseph. Good answers, everybody. I like the discussion. I wish we had more time for discussion. Maybe we got to find a way to do that next time, next year. I am wasting time until I can get to my next presentation group, which would be, there we go, TutorBase. TutorBase, you guys ready?
Yeah, just doing a little mic check. How we sounding?
Sounding awesome. Can you sing for us?
That's awesome. I would. No, not today,
bonus points.
Professor.
If you could do this in acapella, you can do your entire presentation. That'd be fine. Okay. Do you guys need me to present, or you want to present? I guess you're. Never mind.
Oh no, we got it. I was just figuring out my little.
Yep. No issues.
Figure. Hold on a second.
All right, I'm going silent.
1 second. Okay, so how's everyone doing today? My name is Jason Nguyen, and I'm one of the project managers for TutorBase, where our goal is to bring tutors from RPI and students in need together. So what we are essentially is a broker between students on campus and tutors, like I mentioned. This is very akin to the web platform Upwork, if any of you freelancers out there have used that. So the main value we provide is that students at RPI are able to easily and seamlessly find the tutors they need by class and subject through a very simple scheduling process where they're given notifications or reminders about their meetings. The second main value we provide is that tutors at RPI are provided a almost small management platform where they're able to manage their bookings and notifications, and on top of that, visualize their important data metrics and control their settings and their profile that way. Our entire system, our core backbone is through the very common MERN stack described by MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So this is a brief look at our team this semester. We made a big jump in the amount of members we had. I think we had maybe, off the top of my head, 6 members, and we've jumped all the way up to 9 this semester. So that was actually one of the challenges of something that we experienced, being able to onboard many new people, especially, and making sure that they're successful. So Jeremy, my other project manager, and my friend is going to be talking a little bit about our project organization.
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're good?
Okay. Yes, so I'll start by talking about our timeline for this semester. So the first few weeks we wanted to spend working on user accounts and appointments to make sure that we finalize the meeting scheduling process so that tutors can be connected with clients by clients actually making these appointments with these tutors, and also working on login and registration with CAS. So after that, the next few weeks, we worked on implementing Redux and refactoring our projects to include Redux, as we realized that when our project started to grow in scale, it would make much more sense to use Redux for state management. So the next significant bulk of time was spent on account settings and control. So this included tutor profile settings, viewing upcoming meetings, and also meeting histories for tutors and clients. And the stage that we're in right now, which we have not finished yet, is the deployment stage, which is essentially connecting the front end to back end, putting finishing touches on the project, and just finishing last minute things and fixes to the project. So just like last semester, our project management tools that we used involved agile methodologies, which included 2-week sprints and bi-weekly meetings to check the progress on the tasks that we had. We used Trello for task management and to mark issues and assign issues that needed to be completed. And this semester, we also started using GitHub issues, which made it much easier to track issues with the project that needed to be completed. So next slide. Yeah. So on this slide is just an example of what the issues, some of them look like. So we didn't use GitHub issues last year, so we went from 0 issues to over 30 issues right now, I think. So we made like a huge jump in this platform, and it helped a lot. So
Okay.
I'll hand it back over to Jason for the implementation, where we'll go over the accomplishments that we made for the project this semester.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Jeremy. So in terms of my contributions outside of the project management role, I worked on the login and registration page. So one of the big things we want to accomplish this semester, get this working, but also implement the CAS authentication portal. So myself and Sunny, we did a lot of work with this, and it took a lot of tries and with a lot of headaches, to be honest, but we were able to incorporate the funnel so that only RPI students are essentially able to access the platform. On top of that, I got my hands dirty with our tutor operations and client meetings page. So if you're a client, you are able to manage and visualize every upcoming, pending, or completed meetings you've had in the past, where each card is expandable. I know in the picture it doesn't say anything about the client notes, but that's supposed to demonstrate that there's going to be text underneath it, and so you can view additional information. And here you are also able to confirm and deny your appointments. On top of that, on top of other mock-ups, I also worked with the profile settings page that you'll see later in the data analytics page.
Yeah, so now I'll talk about a bit what I did for the project this semester. So first I worked on the meeting setting process a little bit in the beginning, which just involved database model fixes, bug fixes, and also displaying the next available tutor session so that when a client tries to schedule a meeting, the tutors could be ranked by when they're next available. I also worked a lot on the tutor profile settings, which involves giving the tutor the ability to edit and display their prices, courses offered, schedule availability, and profile photos. So the pictures shown here are just changing the prices, courses changed, and also just changing their schedule availability for every day of the week. And then I also worked on some client meetings bug fixes with the Redux aspect of showing client meetings.
Hi, my name is Nick, and I'm a junior, and I worked on implementing Redux and the appointment scheduler. So Redux was a big jump in our project because before we were just using props to move variables around. But now that we have Redux, it's all in one state store that we can use, and it makes the process a lot easier. Another cool thing that Redux allows is something called time travel debugging. You can look that up on Google if you want, but it's really cool. And the other thing is the appointment scheduler. So now we added this calendar called Toast UI. It's a package that we installed, and it adds a really cool graphical way to schedule appointments. And those are the two things I worked on. TutorBase was a great project.
Hi, I'm Thomas Arturi. I contributed to TutorBase mostly through various front-end tasks. My primary place to fix issues, as mentioned before, was on the GitHub issues page, where I got the date selector working for the schedule selection page and improved the styling of the meetings page. I also improved the styling of the login and sign-up page by making them mobile-friendly and adding some extra details. I was also involved in the early testing of the schedule selection page, along with helping complete the reduxification process that Nick just mentioned. Overall, I learned a lot about React Strap and React styling components. So that was an area that I previously have never really dealt with before. Next slide.
Hey, I'm Sunny. I'm a senior. So I worked on the authentication, and I went through setting up Passport.js with the CAS strategy for CAS authentication, and I went through setting up sessions for the authentication, and so we haven't completely finished authentication, but we got most of it working. So it's a good sign. We just have to bring it together with the front end completely. and then so we have so I worked on some of the routes with our tutor operations page or tutor settings page, and I worked within that. I changed some database database models, and then the remaining time I worked on cleaning up the code in the server and then documenting, because we're kind of lacking on that and we need to start before we even deploy. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Thomas Hopkins. I'm a junior and a ECSE major, and this is my first semester with RCOS and Tutorbase. Throughout this semester, I expanded my knowledge of the React framework and front-end development as a whole. My main contribution to Tutorbase was the improvement of onboarding that Jason briefly mentioned. And for this, I kind of made a Tutorbase for Dummies video, which I put on the wiki. Again, overall, I was reasonably new to front-end development as a whole and open source projects. So I feel like I learned a lot through participating in this project and going to workshops. I'll hand it over to Chris now.
All right, hello, I'm Chris. I'm a freshman. This is my first semester doing RCOS. So when I first started off, I knew really nothing about the MERN stack. So I started with working on the registration form, and I added validation. So at the bottom right, you'll see a sign up and you'll see like the X's or check marks. So once you satisfy the requirements, those will change. Then I spent a lot of time in tutor operations. So I was working on the backend routes and then integrating some of those into the front end. So at the top, you'll see the edit description. So that'll work and let you change your description and that will pull automatically. Next, I worked on doing some automatic moving in the database of upcoming meetings to completed meetings once the date and time has passed. And then more recently, I was just working on accepting or denying pending meetings in the client meetings page. And then next slide.
Hi, my name's Jenny, and I'm a sophomore. And I am new to RCOS this semester, so I basically learned a lot about the front end structure, but I didn't really get to develop the code this semester. So I mainly worked on documentation of our project on the GitHub wiki. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Jacob Zamani. I'm a junior, and this is also my first semester with RCOS. So this semester, I worked mainly on the front end, and I was also focusing on the Redux refactoring. Specifically with that, I helped set up the Redux states and actions for logins, meeting scheduling, and client meeting states, which I worked with Nick and Thomas. And along with the Redux refactoring, I focused on the client meetings features and especially setting up the card component that would display all users' meetings and all corresponding information with that meeting. And then aside from some of those, I also helped make some additions to the wiki and set up a couple GitHub issues.
All right, thank you so much, guys, for talking about that. So now we're going to be looking into some quick screenshots and GIFs of what we actually developed. So this is what, well, a small capture of what our sign-up page looked like. This was built by myself and Chris, and one of the main features is that we have this cool little validation point. So, you know, your email has to have an @ in it for it to be an actual email, right? So it clarifies things like that and makes sure, and basically just informs the user before you create your account that all your credentials are valid. Okay, this is our scheduler that we see here, and I think it's a really beautiful graphical interface and hosts a bunch of options for the user. So thank you so much, Nick, for that. This is a brief screenshot of what our meetings page from an entire view looks like, where we feature a sidebar, it being expendable, and our row of different meetings we are able to visualize. You're able to filter through the ones ones that are completed, pending, upcoming, denied, as shown, and each card being expendable in the information. Looks like this one needs a lot of help. Okay, and this is what our profile, essentially our profile settings looks like. It's still a work in progress in terms of design, but made far steps from last semester. One of the main things we were working on actually is a profile, sorry, a profile image. So you yourself can upload your own, like a picture yourself to show other people what you look like and who you are, right? And being able also to control your availability, what courses you offer, the length of your sessions, and your little bio or description. Okay, so Jeremy's going to be talking about what's next for us in terms of our overall goal and arcing vision.
So just in the short term, we'll look at the spring 2021 goals that we have for next semester. So the first aspect of this is deployment, where we want to finalize TutorBase and implement it in a production environment. So this involves using a continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, which will also help automate tests that we want to run for the platform, which we haven't really written yet. Another aspect is onboarding, and this semester we did a lot better of a job at documenting new contributor guidelines and just the code for our platform. And we also want to try to include more good first issue labels on GitHub, because we realized that a lot of the issues that we were having were issues that would be easier to solve with more experienced development knowledge, but not necessarily for new contributors. Once again, we would also like to test our platform rigorously, which involves confirming the design, usability, and functionality, and just reiterating this until we get it right.
In terms of our long-term goals, so basically past this next semester and beyond, we really want to have RPI adoption. So the analogy I like to give is like, just as how people at the end of the semester, when they plan their next semester, they use Yaks or now Quacks to structure their schedules. We want people to be able to use TutorBase to help their problems academically. On top of that, we would love to have a mobile app version. This provides a lot of stability and unique functionality that just mobile apps provide over web apps, and also a way to perform payment handling. So right now, a lot of it is anticipated that if you do meet up with a tutor, that the handling of payments is going to be handled by you two, right? But we would love if we would be the third party in that and make that integration seamless. So that is our entire project. Thank you so much, guys, for listening in. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat box here, or just give us throw us an email at tutorbaserp@gmail.com. But we are also looking for beta testers and also future tutors on our platform. So if you are interested in making a couple extra $50 an hour, scan this QR code and it'll lead you to our Google form. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Any questions for them? So while they're getting set up, I of course always have questions. It's kind of my job. So here's the one for you guys. I thought about asking the same question about onboarding, because you guys also have a large number of you expanded pretty rapidly, but I decided that would be too expected. You guys are talking about getting you're pretty close to a minimum viable product, and you're talking about getting beta testers. One thing that I think that we have a number of people in this organization that are in the computer science honor society, and one of the things I was wondering, have you reached out to them at all? They run a tutoring session right now, or they offer tutoring services for pay right now, and they seem like they might be an excellent place to get hooked up with, as a potential beta tester.
Yeah, that's a great question, Professor. So we have been thinking and are in the process of communicating with like our outside resources to allow us to like accelerate our platform. So for example, I'm beginning to talk with ALAC such that maybe there can be a funnel for us for new tutors. So yeah, the Honor Society is on our list of places to look for actual users and testers on the platform.
So it's, it seems like that would be a good place. Like I said, we have a lot of people in this organization that are in the honor society. It seems like it'd be a short putt to get them kind of involved with you guys. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody want to say anything about getting started with with TutorBase while the Insomnia dialogue system starts getting themselves set up? Any one of you new guys have anything you want to contribute about how hard it was, or how easy, or what's lacking, or what was really nice?
In terms of
getting the new people that came on your project, in terms of getting going on
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of things. Even if, to be honest, if I was in their position and I was unfamiliar with the technologies, even onboarding, like, this sounds weird, to be on my own project, I'd have my own difficulties, right? So a lot of it was just figuring out, like, what is the best way, or what can we do to help people contribute into the best way possible, really just setting them up for success. So we looked at GitHub issues as the first way, having tangible places or issues that people can see are problems, seeing that these are like the first things we need to tackle. So having that definitely helps in terms of contributions for setting people up for success.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Not seeing anything else for you guys. So let's pull up Insomnia dialogue system. It seems like you guys are all set to go on your own as well.
All right.
Knock us out. Well, not
all right.
Literally, figuratively.
Yeah. I'm William Lyons. I'm the project lead for the Insomnia dialogue system. I worked alongside Anthony Pizziconi and Sean Dowd on this project, and we'll hear from them in just a couple minutes. So the Insomnia dialogue system is a node-based dialogue system for the Unity game engine, written in C#. So the system is a dialogue system, which means that it can be used to create dialogue sections in games, giving a player a prompt and some choices, or just giving them prompt after prompt after prompt. The system itself is open-ended, allowing for developers to implement it themselves with Unity's UI, or they could even implement it in other ways. If they wanted to get creative, it could even be within text to voice, or some other weird setup. We also created a file writer and tester, which lets writers easily create dialogue trees and then test them out without needing a full game build, which you can kind of see here, where I'm showing a dialogue file that is actually for a game I'm working on at the moment. So the features of it include a simple to implement base dialogue system, which can be inherited as different mono behaviors, which is a Unity type that allows for quick kind of connecting of different Unity objects together. So you can put it into a game very quickly. It also has the aforementioned visual file writer, and it is node-based. And each of these nodes contains different information, including the speaker, so who is maybe saying it in the game, body text, as well as destinations, memories, and events. Because I think this is both one of the most important parts of the system and one of the coolest parts of the system, I'm going to briefly go over these three things. Destinations point nodes to other nodes. These allow for branching paths both in choices, so allowing the player to make a choice, and they can branch depending on different data. So you can check against variables called memories to see, say, if a character will only talk to the player if they have 100 money. You can have a destination set up where it'll only go that way if they have 100 money. Events are developer set functions, so you'd set them up in Engine to run functions when the node is displayed. You could use it, for example, to play an animation when a certain node is hit. Memories, which I mentioned just a moment ago, let values be saved based on the choices the player makes. Things like saving a name value or adding to a money value. We're going to go over the work the three of us did, starting with myself. I focused on creating the base system as well as the file writer. This system actually had started with very humble beginnings that were not very good, including working with TXT files as the dialog files. So a lot of the work that I did early on was rebuilding the system from the ground up based on that old system, to both be more efficient and to use JSON files instead, which can then be edited freely, as well as allow for more modularity. So if you wanted to modify how dialog files work, you could add on to them pretty simply by just adding onto the classes. I also worked on creating a super simple file reader. Though when we get to Anthony, he'll explain the much more robust testing file reader. I also worked on the file writer, which allows you to pretty easily create dialog trees that you can then save, load, and edit as the dialog files, which can then be implemented into the game. Pass it on to Anthony.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Pizzagoni. I worked on the window, well, as I say right here, where writers can test their dialogue. On there's an option to show and hide the log, which will detail every time a memory is changed or an event is called. And I mainly worked on this for the entire time. And on the very bottom in that gray bar is where any options the select would come in and would let you run through your dialog file.
I'm going to pass it over to Sean.
I worked, so I had documentation. I kind of struggled a little bit trying to like think of new with actual like code implementation. So I decided to sort of, first I started kind of going through the code, just asking questions, kind of figure out, like asking questions about like stuff that Andrew and Anthony had written, kind of looking for logic errors because I've found I'm decently good at it. And then I would, update any documentation when needed. And we also saw that as I was adding comments and whatnot, we saw the people were actually kind of starring, people unrelated to RCOS were actually starring the project. So I went and started updating our wiki, our GitHub wiki, so it had information about and kind of instructions about how the Insomnia dialogue system works.
So I am a GSAS student. I'm actually a GSAS writer and not a GSAS programmer. I just have a huge interest in programming. So as I've done before for GSAS projects, I'm going to give the Insomnia dialogue system a sort of postmortem. Our goal for the system, as I kind of mentioned before, is to make a dialogue system that's easy to use for writers and programmers alike. There are a few different dialogue systems that already exist online for Unity. Some of them are if they are free, they're very convoluted, and if they are not convoluted, they're expensive, upwards of $60 to $100 for a dialogue system. So we wanted to make a dialogue system that was free, easy to use, and something that you could customize. While we haven't seen this kind of come to fruition because no one has started using the system other than myself and one of my development teams for another class, we're going to be working on the system again to make sure that it gets to as close to that goal as we can. We've already put, or I have already put the system into a game I'm working on in experimental game design, where both I and one of the other programmers on that project worked with the system. I made a simple dialogue section for the end of the game, which you can see in the screenshot here. Well, the other programmer actually did something interesting with it, where they ended up using it to create our credit sequence, which came out very good. It was a good show of how customizable the system can be and how open-ended it is. On a less positive note, our project organization wasn't super ideal. I'm brand new to RCOS. I'm also kind of new to actually just doing programming on a project. Like I said, I'm a GSAS student. I'm used to having a bunch of people on different roles and myself taking on different roles outside of just programmer. So this was all new to me, including working with GitHub, which I'd only worked with a few times before. So it was a little haphazard as we kind of got to grips with using GitHub. We use the project in GitHub to track our progress as a to-do list, kind of keeping track of what we were each working on throughout. And outside of that, we would bug test, or we would discuss bugs and what we needed to do in Discord, and then update the project accordingly. We had also used GitHub for desktop for each of our access to the project, which ended up working super smoothly, especially considering that we were all kind of working independently on different parts of the project. Something I have had experience with is overscoping, which we definitely did for this. I underanticipated how much work we would all have to do for this semester. So I shot a little far in how much I wanted to get done with this project. But that being said, the quality of our work I'm really proud of, as well as the design of some of the stuff, including the file writer and the tester, which we had talked a lot about. So even though we didn't get as far with our work as we wanted to, we definitely created something that I think we're all proud of. That's everything. Are there any questions?
Anybody? So here, I got two questions for you. First off, how did you come up with Insomnia dialogue system?
So this is actually, I mentioned an older version of this system in one of the earlier slides. This is actually the third edition of this system, where the first one didn't have a file writer. It was all text files. It was horrible, but it was for a game that I was working on called Insomnia, which was just a game about kind of being in a dream, but also not in a dream because you can't fall asleep. So Insomnia was the name.
Okay, because I thought about that multiple times, and I keep confusing this with like Breathe or one of those apps that try to talk you to sleep, which isn't exactly what you're doing. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was you have used this on at least one project, or at least to some extent use this on an existing game, and you were one of the beta testers, essentially, or alpha testers, let's say, and you worked with another person who was essentially another alpha tester. Have you done anything to get feedback from that person to kind of gather, usability testing or any information from them at all? Because that would be a very valuable kind of resource this early in the game.
Yeah, definitely. So another benefit of being a GSAS major is being very, very familiar with playtesting.
Yep.
I think my dogs might be barking in the background, so I apologize for that. So while he was working on it, he was asking me questions about it. We had actually hopped into a Discord call to discuss it. So I'd taken notes based on that to basically work with later on when I make more improvements.
I was hoping that you had done that, because that's actually a really good, test early, test often, and maybe you could even offer this up for future. If the professor's okay with it, you could even offer it up as a resource in the class, just as a thought.
Yeah, definitely. It's the kind of thing that I'll be sharing with other GSAS majors and professors too. So
good. Any other questions for the IDS Insomnia dialogue system? I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to call this meeting. Good job, guys. I think we are one class from done, and I think this was one of our best sets of presentations so far. Although I will say that we've dropped off from the 40 or 50 people we had till about 12. You guys think you can sneak out on me when we're not online? But no, that's understandable. So we are all set up. I'm going to kind of go back to my beachfront, but thank you for attending this presentation session. We have one more to go. If you guys have any last questions for any of the groups, please feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we will catch you all on Friday. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you very much.